friends. Welcome to the Grow Podcast. I'm Wendy Jo, and this is my friend Ashley. Ashley, what's new in your world?
I took a nice walk today and I enjoyed it a lot.
Wonderful.
How about you?
Well, it's Pride Month, so I'm wearing my Be Kind shirt,
I see. I like
the
it.
rainbow, and we're pretty excited to be celebrating Pride. There's so much, controversy about it right now in the country,
Mhm.
and I think those of us who are good with it need to
Mhm.
kind of dig our heels in and say, this has been going on for a long time, and it started really not as a celebration as much as we want to be visible. We want you to see
Yeah.
us, as a statement, a political statement, really, in a way. So yeah, so happy Pride Month.
Yes, yes, no, I appreciate that. I didn't know about the controversy though. I didn't realize there was I thought we accepted it and it just was a thing that we did. I don't.
Yeah. So there's a lot of conservatives, really far right folks who are really mad about it.
Mm.
Why isn't there, other months for other people and various other arguments that they have? When you talk about marginalized people, they often need some sort of statement like this to be pulled forward and not backward into the darkness.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's a lot going on and a lot of name calling for LGBTQ people that's really not founded in anything. So we're celebrating over here, and I want everyone to feel seen and heard and visible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the thing, like, I don't identify an LGBTQ community, but in my mind, I really thought it was like rainbow, like literal rainbows and sunshine when it came to the community. Like, if you come my way, I feel like you feel accepted or whatever it is. And so, um, I guess by you saying that, it's just helping me to recognize that there is still a lot of work to be done. So, thank
There
you for saying
is a lot of work to be done, and I appreciate that you're an ally. And I think that it's really important for those who identify as an ally and see it as okay. Speak up. That's
that.
important too.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, and even beyond just speaking up, but like having real connection with people.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I just think that's the part that's missing is
Right.
just connection. The human experience is individualized.
Right. So that's a really important point. When I think many people who have these particular views do not have LGBTQ people in their life or
Mhm.
have never had that human connection. I could be wrong. It may not be true for all, but I suspect that it is true for many. So it's easy to dehumanize people when
Yeah,
you've never had that connection.
yeah, for sure. But I also think it's interesting if you haven't had that type of connection because I feel like you can go to the grocery store and have that connection.
Right.
So to me, it just seems kind of hard to not recognize that there are people who have different lifestyles or, have different experiences or have different needs, right?
Right.
That just go under acknowledged. And so, I mean, I think the problem really is just about meeting people with the spirit of inquiry.
Mhm.
Because everywhere I go, I just meet all different types of people. I don't meet just one type of person when
Right.
I go places. Like I just don't. I just can't understand that experience. I guess, and maybe somebody can enlighten me.
Well, I think, the word woke has become sort of a dirty word lately, right? Which I don't understand either because I thought being awake was a good thing. And it sounds like, you're awake, you're engaging and interested and curious. And I think when people, seek separation and dehumanize those who are marginalized, they're not seeking that. They're not curious for some reason. So I can't really relate to it either.
Yeah.
All I can do is keep going forward and speaking the truth.
Yeah. Well, that was a cool side conversation.
Yes.
Unintentional for sure.
Right, because today we're here to talk about mindfulness and meditation, which, could relate. Actually, I'm making a relationship there with what we're talking about, because frequently it can be very stressful if you're LGBTQ and in a community that is not accepting or that, seeks to change you. So mindfulness and meditation can really help with managing that, don't you think?
Yeah, I absolutely think that because part of what it means to be considered marginalized is the outward differences that people perceive, and that just generally people just don't accept, right? Like
Right.
it's or choices or experiences people just don't accept.
Right.
And so I think when you're in the position of being not accepted, it does take a lot of additional mental space
Mhm.
to go through your life,
Right.
period. And so it requires a different type of management, or a little bit more intentional management of that, because when you move through the world, it's not as easy. There's a lot of resistance. There's a lot of, things kind of tossed at you by way of negative energy.
Right.
And so I personally believed, specifically to LGBTQ communities, that mindfulness is very important, because you need to know what skin you're in,
Mhm.
how you intend to move through the world, and then also decompress all the stuff that's hurled at you on a daily basis.
Right.
And so, just taking just a few moments to breathe, sit still with yourself, be okay with choices that have been made or not made. I think those will all make this life experience just a tad bit easier. Not, it won't change your life, but
Right.
at least you've created space.
Yeah, I agree with that. So of course, I looked up some definitions, right, to talk about this. Even though I've been meditating since my 20s,
Right.
um, I read a transcendental meditation book in my 20s. I was already, dealing with health problems, and the remnants of, abuse and trauma. And it helped me so much. But I couldn't quite come up with a definition in my mind, even though I've been doing it for so long. So I just want to read what it said on Google. So this is from Google. Um,
Okay.
Meditation, which is the practice of focused concentration, bringing yourself back to the moment over and over again.
That's the definition.
Right, which is to me a definition of mindfulness in a way. Um,
Hmm.
and I, so the definition of mindfulness is the quality or state of being conscious or aware of something.
Okay.
Um, so they're very similar in definition. So what I would say is, to me, meditation brings me away from the moment frequently to somewhere else that is stress relieving and or opening my mind to new things. To me, that's kind of meditation, whereas mindfulness definitely brings you in the moment, in your body, in the room that you're in, I think. What are your thoughts about those definitions?
I think I'm kind of with you on that. Like, I don't think I like the definition that Google said for meditation. I don't think I like it. Because you're right. It speaks more to mindfulness than the meditation process,
Mhm.
because it's almost like you're actively doing something in that moment. And I just feel like it puts a lot of pressure on the experience. And I meet a lot of people often when I say to meditate that they already feel overwhelmed with the concept,
Right.
right?
That's very true. And
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about that more when we come back. Hey there, Wendy Jo from the Grow podcast. We're talking about mindfulness and meditation. I want to remind you that everything is a meditation. Walking is a meditation, eating is a meditation, driving is a meditation. I think it's really important to get in the moment, be mindful of what you're doing. What do you smell? What do you taste? What do you see? What do you hear? As you get more into the moment, you become more in tune with yourself. And then when you sit quietly, meditation is a whole lot easier. So drop the judgment and give it all a try. And we're back. We're talking about mindfulness and meditation today. And in the previous segment, we were talking about definitions. And Ashley, you brought up that people often say they're so overwhelmed. Like, how can I possibly, sit still? Right? Is what they're kind of saying.
Pretty much.
Yeah, but I think when people say that to me, one thing that I say to them is to meditate or to practice mindfulness, either one, you have to release that judgment
Mm-hmm.
and find an exercise to try without judgment, right? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I feel like meditation itself is the exploration of that thought. So the way I experience meditation is like I'm playing in my mind, like going down slides and landing on clouds and such,
Right.
and like thought to thought to thought. And I know some say, well, you're supposed to swipe away the thoughts, but I feel like it's more of an exploration of thought and just saying, hey, thought, how are you? Right? Meeting it, being okay with it, recognizing what it is, what it means, kind of going through all of that. To me, that's what meditation is. And I don't have to sit in a specific posture to achieve that. I tend to I love it sitting in the sun and just really being with myself and going through that process. Being in nature is very helpful too, because it expands the scope of reality to me.
Mm-hmm.
But mindfulness, I think it's also important to feel your body from your head to your toes.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the things that I like to do with people is just ask them, when was the last time you paid attention to your toes?
Right. Right. Well, and that's so one thing that I've done for myself and teach others where mindfulness is concerned is the five senses.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, I say that. So look around the room and tell me what color the walls are. What does your clothing feel like?
Mm-hmm.
Feel your toes in your shoes.
Yeah.
Wiggle your toes. What do you smell? Do you hear anything? Because when you do that, you're pulling yourself back into your body.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's a mindfulness practice.
Yeah. I agree with that 100%. And I think the first step is to be mindful. And then the next step is to achieve meditation.
I think you're right, because the mindfulness itself reduces any stress,
Mm-hmm.
gets you out of fight, flight, freeze,
Mm-hmm.
and in your body in the moment,
Mm-hmm.
so that you can try something else. I think so many people are in fight, flight, freeze, and they don't even realize it.
Yes, a constant state of fight, flight, freeze. And I don't know if it ever goes away because your subconscious is playing all these crazy experiences that you might have had and never processed.
Right.
Then it comes up again and again and again, and you're constantly re-triggered, and and you're sitting there at the beach.
Right. Right, exactly. So I think they kind of go hand in hand. And the thing about mindfulness that's I think is really cool is that you really can do it anywhere. Like if you're at work and something is triggering or bothering you, this actually happened to me the other day because they're fixing the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were over the rehab department banging over and over and over again. And the PTSD that I have was telling me to run for my life.
Yeah.
And so I had to stop several times in the day and just get in my body and remind myself that I was safe. And the practice allowed me to get through the day, without feeling that way.
Yeah, for sure. And and that's a requirement if you do suffer from PTSD, because you totally lose control in where you are in that moment. You totally go back in time to whatever the event was.
Right.
And even in people who don't suffer in that way, I think it's important, especially like those of us who work 9-to-5 jobs, who are there, pretty much 80% of our life. in these jobs, sometimes we come home and we're still living in our job at home, right? So like even disconnecting, finding ways to be mindful in the transition from work time to home time is important, because you can get lost in the fog of the routine, right? It just starts to become, the week becomes one day, essentially.
Right.
And
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, I completely agree. That's very good advice. I think many people are so, especially if they don't have a long drive home,
Mhm.
that, ability to decompress and get in your body and be present for your family or just for yourself in
Mhm.
your downtime is really difficult. And I do think mindfulness can help. And a mindfulness meditation can be even something simple where you take a walk. Let's say in this instance, it's after work, you take a short walk, you focus on the steps
Mhm.
and how your body is feeling. Part of mindfulness is not just being aware of how you're feeling, but how your body feels physically, how you feel emotionally, what's happening with you at that time. And so to focus in on it brings you back, so you can enjoy your home time.
Yes, and that's, I mean, that to me is the most important part of the day, when you get to your sanctuary, whatever that looks like, whether it has kids or no kids or husbands or wives or whatever, girlfriends, boyfriends, doesn't matter. Um, Whatever your sanctuary consists of, you should want to feel good in it. And, despite the clutter of every day, and practicing mindfulness will help support you and being able to be present in your sanctuary
Right.
with all the clutter behind.
Totally agree. So, and if you're not able to, walk is just one example. It can be anything that's sort of, I think anything that's in a way kind of monotonous and routine.
Yeah.
I love makeup, right? And one of the reasons I put it on is because it really is kind of calming, and I can just focus on what I'm trying to do on my face. And by the time I put the lipstick on, it just feels so good, and
Yeah.
I'm in the moment and just thinking about that, and my mind's not wandering to the 10 things that I have to do.
Yeah, same. I mean, anything that requires your hands. You paint too.
Mhm.
People who like to crochet or know how to crochet, people who, and you said makeup, pottery, any type of art, any type of physical activity. If you play soccer, kick the ball back and forth, like all of that, I can think can support a mindfulness, especially if you have it already part of your, habit process. Like you can do it and get lost in it. Go do that.
Right. And we'll be right back.
Mindfulness has been described as the state of being conscious or aware of something. When we talk about mindfulness and spirituality, a lot of times we're talking about being aware or conscious of our own bodies. It is so surprising to me that a lot of people are not mindful of the presence of their own physical bodies. I know I was one of them at some point, but becoming more mindful and present in my own body has changed the way that I experience life. When was the last time you paid attention to your pinky toe? What's going on down there? I would love to know how you practice being more in tune with your own body. Have you heard of the Cannabis Nursing School? It's a place where cannabis nursing, entrepreneurship, and spirituality meet. The Highline Tribe is waiting for you, and it's so easy to find. CannabisNursingSchool.com.
Hey there, friends. If you're an intuitive like me, you have thoughts and feelings about your own health and sometimes the health of others. What you're dealing with is medical intuition, but you probably don't know how to harness it. Hey, I met this wonderful woman named Gina, and she's doing a training on medical intuition with her company, The Heal World. Let's face it, there's lots of people getting sicker and sicker, and they often don't find answers with mainstream medicine. We have lots of technology, but we're missing the key, medical intuition. If you'd like to learn more, you could email her at gina@blisslife.com or give her a call at 352-888-2100. The Heal World.
Right. And we're back. So I think with meditation, like you were saying earlier, people will say that they just can't do it. They can't quiet themselves. They don't know how to do it. How does somebody get started with meditation? What are your thoughts?
I think okay, so this is the way it was taught to me and it just did not work, but I'll share it anyway.
Okay.
Because it does take some time to be able to settle yourself with your own thoughts, because a lot of us don't know what's playing in there.
Mhm.
Right. And so the way it was taught to me was when you have a thought, to clear it, like do some physical motion and tell it to go away or step away. So, and I think that might be why I have the slide and the cloud thing in my head, because they also said it's like clouds. Every thought is like a cloud. You blow it away. So you can do a blowing motion or a hand motion and say, hey, I want to clear my mind now. But you should also acknowledge the thought when it comes. Pay attention to any emotional response to thought, and ask that to go away as well. And so when I did that, I just felt like it was I felt like it was silly when I did it, but I think over time, I don't know if I necessarily practiced it that way, but I just started to play around with the idea of being okay with my thoughts, or, just sitting and being present with them, or acknowledging my feelings with my thoughts. And so I think I said it on here already, but I don't need to have like a specific space or a specific position
Right.
to do the meditation process. I can be right here, right now, and meditate and be just fine with that. And so I think it's a muscle that you have to work on. I don't know if every exercise is for everyone. That exercise may be super helpful. And to be honest with you, as I talked through it, I think the exercise was actually helpful. I just made it my own. So
Right. Well, I think you have to do that with anything. You learn and then you figure out how that can work for you.
mhm.
I had a similar way that I started. Uh, Maybe not so direct with moving it away with my hand, although I think that's a good idea because that brings you in that moment, the movement. Um, but so how I started was by putting a candle on a table, and I read that the downward gaze helps you to relax. So it was down a little bit, so I was looking down and stared at the flame and just kept staring at it and saying the word flame in my head.
Mm.
And then if a thought came in, I would say flame and just like send it away. Right. And so then once I was able to just focus on the flame, then I would close my eyes and I could see the flame in my mind's eye and just hold it there until I couldn't anymore. And I think the first few times I did it, it was seconds that I could hold it there. But over time, it became, 15 minutes, or then it would lead to going somewhere else in my mind and away from the stressful things. That was it's kind of a simple exercise, but it just kind of gets you to focus,
Yeah.
and remove, send away the other thoughts.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. So if you read about meditation, they'll tell you, sit with a straight spine, all kinds of things, right? Don't lay down because you might fall asleep. Okay, fall asleep. That's okay. That's why I said in the beginning, really no judgment, I think, is key.
Mhm.
And so I don't like to advise anyone any particular position either, because people will find the position that really works for them, what's comfortable. And you can meditate and walk. You could
Yeah.
be dancing. You could sit, lay down, whatever whatever works for you. I agree.
Yeah, facts. And don't be scared of it. And I think that's the biggest thing, is to not be scared of the entire process. And I think the judgment part of it is super important because one of the first things that people say to me is that I did fall asleep. And it's like, well, maybe you were tired.
Right.
Maybe you needed to sleep. Like, before you can meditate, if you think you're going to close your eyes, you have to be well rested.
Right.
So if you close your eyes and fell asleep, that's what your body needed in that moment. And let's be okay with that.
Right. And maybe just attempting to meditate allowed you to go to sleep.
Right.
That's a good thing,
Right.
So yeah, I think I think we place a lot of pressure on ourselves to do things right. And I guess I'm here to say there is no right way.
To do
Take
anything.
the advice and then make it your own and figure out what's right for you.
Yeah, everybody is different. Every human is different. Every experience is different. So, what worked for me will work for you. Might work for me, might work for you, might not work for the next person, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Well, I hope that anyone listening or watching will take a moment and give meditation and or mindfulness a try. And I hope you have a great week.
Bye.
Everyone.